You're listening because you want to get straight to the point, right? Understand things fast, get the whole picture. That's what we do here.
Exactly. No beating around the bush.
And today, we've got something really direct. It's the forecast from Lorenzo.
Ah, Lorenzo, yeah.
He's known, well, he's an astrologer, a prophet, known for predictions that are, let's say, sharp, very time-specific based on his charting.
And brutally honest, that's his reputation, isn't it? No sugarcoating.
Not at all. So just a heads up, what you're about to hear is Lorenzo's astrological report and tarot reading exactly as he put it out there.
Yeah, completely unvarnished. We're not adding anything, not taking anything away, just presenting his analysis, word for word.
It's definitely a forecast that's making waves. So let's dive right into how Lorenzo introduces himself and his message.
Okay. He starts off really strong. He says, and this is him speaking, "I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to warn you, shock you, and tell you the truth before it happens."
Wow, okay, no punches pulled there.
None. He goes on, "I'm Lorenzo, astrologer, prophet, and unapologetic voice of divine disruption. While others gave you symbolism, I gave you dates."
He's drawing a clear line.
A very clear line. "While they told you to trust the process, I told you who was falling and when. When Francis fell, I had already written the obituary. Now I'm telling you who's next."
So he's claiming prior accuracy, specifically with Francis.
Precisely. And then he defines his approach. "I don't do soft horoscopes. I do precision prophecy. If you want sugar, go elsewhere.
Right.
If you want raw astrology, ruthless tarot, and the unfiltered future, stay right here. This isn't evolution, it's exorcism."
Is exorcism. That's quite a framing. And he doesn't waste any time getting to the core prediction, does he?
Yeah.
About the Vatican.
No, straight into it. Lorenzo states, April 21st, the Pope died. But the soul of the Vatican, it left the body on April 10th.
April 10th, so before the acknowledged date.
That's his claim. He continues, "What we saw was just rigor mortis in robes." Then he sets up the next part. Now comes the replacement, the mask, the puppet.
The puppet.
Mm.
And he names this replacement.
He does, a name that's definitely been circulating. Lorenzo says his name is Matteo Zuppi.
Okay, Zuppi.
"And I'm here to tell you not only why he's next, but why he will fail." And he gives this section a title.
Which is?
"The Next Pope, the Puppet on Francis's Throne." And below that, prophecy, power, and a corpse wearing a crown.
Goodness. A corpse wearing a crown. So let's get into his reasoning. Act 1, he calls it. Why Zuppi? Why now?
Right. According to Lorenzo, it's not about Zuppi being some brilliant strategist or a radical choice. He says Zuppi is not the wild card. He's the card they pull when they're out of choices.
Out of choices. Like a default.
Sort of. He calls Zuppi the anti-disruption. Lorenzo then lays out the perceived logic.
Okay, what's the logic?
He explains he's Italian, a nod to tradition, a signal of control to the Vatican wolves. That's one point.
Tradition and control.
Then he's Francis-friendly, but not too much, a safe clone. And also, he's soft-spoken, diplomatic, papabile enough to fool the masses.
Papabile enough to fool the masses. So Lorenzo sees this as a performance, essentially, not a choice for genuine leadership.
That's exactly it. Lorenzo's core point is, quote, "He wasn't chosen to lead. He was chosen to stall the reckoning."
Stall the reckoning. What does he mean by that?
He elaborates, "The Curia doesn't want power. They want silence. And Zuppi is silence wrapped in lace."
Silence wrapped in lace. That's a very vivid image. Okay, so that's the why, Zuppi. Then Lorenzo brings in what he calls cosmic evidence.
Yeah, this is where the astrology comes in explicitly. He just states it flat out. The astrology proves it's all performative.
All performative. So what are the alignments he points to?
He gives specifics. First, Jupiter squares Saturn, June 2025. Hope installed, reality rejected, a synthetic pope birthed in retrograde chaos.
June 2025. Synthetic pope. That's intense astrological language. What's next?
The second alignment he mentions is Lilith trine Uranus. Hidden rage erupts. Grassroots rebellion begins. And he specifies not just lady priests, bishops, nuns.
So internal rebellion triggered by this alignment, in his view. From clergy too.
That's the prediction. Priests, bishops, nuns, a widespread hidden rage boiling over. Then there's a third astrological point.
Okay, what is it?
Pluto squared the nodes. The system chokes on its unconfessed past. The karmic receipt is printed.
The karmic receipt. So past actions coming due, astrologically speaking. How does he wrap up this cosmic evidence section?
With a pretty stark summary. Zuppi walks into the conclave with prayers. He walks out with a ticking bomb in his palm.
A ticking bomb. Right. So the astrology, for Lorenzo, paints a picture of inherent instability right from the start.
Exactly, which leads directly into his third act, the collapse, how Zuppi's time actually plays out.
And how does Lorenzo see that unfolding? Calm at first.
That's what he predicts initially, yeah. His reign will look calm at first, but it's built on the ash of a failed jubilee.
A failed jubilee, suggesting the period before Zuppi doesn't achieve its aims.
Yes, sir.
Seems to be the implication. And he predicts a major disconnect. He will speak of peace while the church rots from the inside. Speaking peace while there's internal decay. And does he mention specific events?
He foreshadows a crisis. A scandal will strike, not because of him, but because he won't contain it.
So not his fault, but his inability to manage it will be key.
That seems to be Lorenzo's angle, and he expects attacks from both sides.
How so?
Lorenzo says, the conservatives will call him a heretic, the progressives will call him a coward.
Caught in the middle, basically.
Completely. And Lorenzo's assessment of Zuppi's experience in the role is pretty bleak.
What does he say?
He will be called Pope, but he will never feel like one, because the papacy, as you knew it, died with Francis.
Wow.
Died with Francis.
Yeah.
So for Lorenzo, the institution itself fundamentally changed or ended in its previous form.
That's the message. Which brings us to the final act, Act 4. The prophecy's verdict. His ultimate judgment on Zuppi.
Okay, what's the final verdict according to Lorenzo?
He declares Zuppi isn't the beginning, he's the end of denial. He's very specific about what Zuppi isn't.
Right, what does he say he isn't? He's not the Antichrist, not the reformer, not the destroyer. Then he defines what Zuppi is. He is symptom.
A symptom of what?
Of a system making a specific choice. Lorenzo says the Vatican is not electing a new future, it's electing a soft euthanasia.
Soft euthanasia. That's incredibly stark language for describing the election of a pope.
It is. And he connects it back to his earlier theme. I told you before, this isn't evolution, it's exorcism. Then he lands on this final analogy.
Which is?
Zuppi is a bandage on a corpse, a smile on a crumbling skull. And in a year, you'll see what I mean.
A bandage on a corpse, a smile on a crumbling skull. It's relentlessly grim imagery. He leaves no room for ambiguity.
None whatsoever. His perspective is laid out very clearly.
Okay, so let's cover Lorenzo's own concluding statements. How does he wrap this all up?
He brings it back to the timeline he established. He says, I said April 10th was the death. April 21 was the funeral. Now we're in the wake.
The wake, meaning this period we're in now.
That's how he frames it. And today, I told you the name of the man who walks into a tomb dressed like a throne. Matteo Zuppi.
A tomb dressed like a throne.
Yeah. Then he repeats the name. Remember it, you'll need it. And he includes a direct call for engagement.
What does he ask people to do?
Subscribe if you're not afraid of prophecy. Comment if you feel it coming.
Right. Engaging his audience directly.
And his very last thought is, and remember, this isn't the end of the church. This is the end of pretending it's alive.
The end of pretending it's alive.
Yeah.
Well, that was Lorenzo's astrological report and tarot reading, presented straight, no filter, just as he delivered it.
Yeah, exactly as promised. It's definitely a stark perspective, a lot to process there.
It really is. And hearing it laid out like that, regardless of what one thinks of astrology or prophecy, it forces you to consider his central point.
Which is?
This idea of fragility. Given Lorenzo's forecast, his whole viewpoint, it makes you wonder what other established systems, things we take for granted, might be more, brittle than they look on the surface.
That's a really interesting thought to leave with. Beyond just this specific prediction, looking at the structures around us, are they as solid as we assume?
Yeah. Something to mull over, definitely. Especially after hearing such an uncompromising analysis like Lorenzo's.